Welcome to the swamp. We're back to the dinosaur hellscape where you wake up naked on a beach and get instantly spawn killed. ARK Survival Evolved is a well-known game that's been out for just short of a decade and is one of the most popular survival games ever. ARK Survival Ascended is basically a remake of the original game with Unreal Engine 5, with not only updated graphics, but also some quality of life improvements and new content. This review is going to be my re-review of ARK as a whole, as my first review was one of my first ones ever and not really that good. It was badly edited and hyper cringe. But don't worry, as I will also cover ARK Survival Ascended changes as well. Finally, this will be both rated as a whole, but primarily for Ascended, as this is the new default way to play the game. So let's get into it. My name is Excalligator. I rate games based on many categories that would fit into most survival games, based on a 1 to 5 system. If a category does not apply, it will not affect the game's overall score. Now let us get started. Now, the original ARK Survival Evolved game, I've played for more than 2,000 hours. ARK Survival Ascended, I've played for about 46 hours. Real quick, this video will have a small disclaimer. This game is absolutely ravaged by frame drops, so unfortunately my video footage will be very choppy. I'll do my best to give you the best footage out of the batch, but I never went more than 30 frames. We'll talk about more in the bug and lag section. ARK is a game where you wake up on a beach with nothing but your name. You look around to see dinosaurs and other extinct creatures roaming around. You either have to go off on your own or with friends to build a shelter, befriend the dinosaurs, build up, and either thrive or conquer the island by evolving your technology through the ages. I'm going to highly recommend a high-end rig for this game. While you can get away with playing it on an above average computer like mine, you will struggle even then. As I said before, I had frame rate issues as well as others, and I have a 3050 graphics card with a 5th gen i7 processor. The character creation is so much better than the original game. Evolve's character creation had very static characters that while you could make hilarious looking humans with short legs, long arms, and vice versa, with Popeye bulging biceps, the faces always looked the same and the haircuts were locked behind game mechanics, which I hated. Ascended threw all of that out of the window. The character looks so much better. The faces are smoothed out and not as rigid. You can have different faces. You can choose your hair, your beards from the start, with different styles and colors as well as your length. You can choose between body types and mix between them. So you can have lean, fat, strong, or a mix of either or. But yes, you can still make your monstrosities if you wish. Though you do have to go a little bit out of your way to do that, which is fine. The option is still there, but the typical player can make their normal looking human much easier than before. And the final thing, which is a bit outside of the creation screen, but it's that the animations for the characters are remade and look a lot better. It's almost bearable to play in third person now. Just the fighting is still a bit scuffed, but just walking around and chilling, you can play in third person mode no problem. With that being said, this section is going to get a 5 out of 5 for the vastly improved character creation. The Ascended game starts off exactly as Evolved, where you wake up on a beach. You just go. There's no tutorial, however there is basic enough information that anyone who is familiar with the games, or just survival games in general, can figure it out easily. The beaches are still the easiest areas to play, with fewer resources, however some strong monsters can wander to the beach, which is also a problem as I've had several alphas spawn near my home. Now, I played solo for this review. You, on the other hand, might not. From my experiences on a multiplayer server, you will have a vastly different experience based on many factors. One factor is that you could spawn inside of a player base and get stuck, like it happened to me on my last review. You can get spawn killed by PvPers. Or, on the other hand, you can meet up with friends, which will boost you to the endgame right off the bat, with little to no actual survival needed. So with that being said, I'm going to rate the start of the game a 3 out of 5 because the intro can vastly differ depending on many factors, which can also lead to good or terrible experiences. More often than not, you will have a bad start, but it gets better the more you progress. The exploration has had a few changes over the years, in a good way. For this review, I will primarily talk about the island map, as it is the only map available at this moment on Ascended. I also wish to talk about the other maps separately, as I recently reviewed Scorched Earth from ARK Survival Evolved, so make sure to check that out. Now then, for Ascended. There are a ton of various biomes on the island with its own unique creatures that spawn. While most resources can be found most of anywhere, some biomes have more changes to see certain resources than others. Over the years, they have added what are called Explorer's Notes. Originally, when you tamed a new creature, you could get the dossier. Now those, as well as some recipes, world lore, and even character lore, can be found in chests around the map that are usually found within ruins. And the best part is that the character written notes are now voice acted. So you can hear Helen's voice, you can hear Rockwell's voice, and it helps to connect you to the story, as well as helping give context and lore to the players with less reading. I'll talk about that more in the story delivery section. You can find dungeons to explore around the map and travel to the obelisk for boss fights. I'm going to rate this exploration a 4.5 out of 5. While I love exploring the biomes and seeing the creatures within, I feel that it could use a bit more differences between them to set them apart, such as different resources that will make you want to visit them besides just taming a certain dinosaur. The redwoods have large trees that you can get tree sap from, which is an example, but the swamp, forest, and snow areas don't really have anything different in terms of resources. Typically in my survival ratings, I like to give a small separate rating. Survival games can be one of three things. They can either be so easy that you don't really survive. The second one is that it starts off hard, but you can make things easier as you progress. And the third one is that the game is always hard. ARK is between the first and second option. The survival is a bit hit or miss. As I said, you can have times where people who you are friends with will boost you to the end, even on a fresh character, so you can have fully ascended flak gear or tech armor with a T-Rex or a Giga. But for the sake of the review, I will talk about the game as if it was played as intended. Now for transparency, for my solo server, I did adjust a few of the scalars, one being faster dinosaur tames, and the other for ×2 harvest, to help make it a bit more bearable as a solo player, because the game is naturally tuned for multiple players. Everything else is on normal rates. Now then, as I said before, starting off solo, you will have a tough time. Possible strong enemies can wander to the beach and give you a hassle. You can lose items easily. Your first few tames might be shit and die trying to fight a stronger dinosaur, or even to a weaker dinosaur in some cases. Once you chip away at the progression and get a bit of a foothold, it becomes progressively more and more bearable. The bow and even the crossbow helps a lot. Metal tools and flak armor, taming more and more medium-sized dinosaurs will help give you protection, speed, and harvest more efficiently. Now, something that is new to Ascended is that now you can find baby dinosaurs in the world that you can tame. To tame them, you must kill their parent. Then you can basically get a free tame. But since it is a baby, you will need to protect it and feed it until it's grown. It's how I started off the game with a trike. I would also recommend taming raptors by finding the babies and make an army of them. Raptor army, alright. With the amount of meat you can gather from harvesting dinosaurs, the rate at which it fills up your hunger is lowered, so it's worth to stuff yourself with a snack of meat every time you get hungry. Now for more rare meats like prime meat, it will fill you up more, as well as specialty foods. Early game, it will be a bit of an annoyance, but later on, it can be ignored more and more often. As a fresh player, the dinosaurs in the world will ravage you and rip your face off. The more and more dinos you start to tame, you will have small bodyguards and soon enough larger dinosaurs that you can ride to help ward off more smaller and medium dinosaurs from attacking you. Now, while there are bigger dinosaurs out there that will attack you, or a small pack of dinosaurs that can kill your larger one, the level of danger is drastically reduced the more and more progressed you are. I'm going to rate this survival a 3 out of 5, as there are a lot of factors that can make the game either an extreme of a terrible, to get a foothold, to losing your armies of dinosaurs because of one stupid mistake, or you could get boosted to the end game and not have to worry about anything besides other players. The building system has been improved so much since Evolved. A lot of the items have been combined into one item that you can cycle between them as you place them. you will now have triangle pieces as well as proper roofing pieces, and some other additions as well that didn't exist before. Placing pieces is a bit more streamlined too, and much more user-friendly than how it used to be. Same with placing benches and decorative items. While there are not too many to begin with, you can choose to snap them to foundations or freeform them now. And they'll even follow the walls, so by placing them against the wall, it will put its backside against it for you and align itself automatically. While some new decorative items have been added, there are still not really a lot for those people who like to roleplay. Just a table and some chairs really, and banners and trophy stands, so mods may have to fill out this hole. Crafting is pretty much the same as Evolved, where you simply gather the items needed to make the item relative in the workbench. There are not too many workbenches, but enough for a variety of tiers. Some higher end items will still be made on lower level benches, so it's worth to keep them after upgrading. Not only that, some dino saddles have built-in crafting stations, so you could turn certain dinos into portable blacksmiths. Farming is still annoying as Evolved. You place your plot down, you plant your seeds, and you must keep the plants fertilized as well as watered, or your plants will regress and die. The longer you keep it happy, the more you'll get fruit. It's not too bad when you only have 1 or 2 plots, but to keep a ton of them fertilized at once, you basically need to make a dinosaur poop farm with dung beetles to naturally make fertilizer. Now, the piping system, you no longer need tons of pipes to get water to your base. If you place down an intake with a tap, it will automatically fill or water anything within a certain area, which is a nice quality of life. Of course, it doesn't really help me as I'm up on the cove and the ocean is far away. I'm going to give this section a 4 out of 5. The building has a lot of great improvements from how it used to be, and is much easier to create unique homes. The crafting system is still a bit of the same before, and the farming is still a bit annoying, but all in all, it's very good. In terms of the mechanics and the animation, the PvE is bare bones. Single animation for swinging melee weapons. Higher tiered weapons do more damage. And there's not really a lot of strategy involved with the human element. Now for the dinosaurs. Every dinosaur has a unique trait that gives off certain benefits, be it for traversal, carrying capacity, a mobile repair station, as well as various forms of PvE and PvP. Some dinosaurs offering bleeding damage, some can enrage and do more damage, some can heal you, and so many more possibilities. Hell, a lot of these mechanics are flat out broken, especially when you combine them with other dinosaurs for an overall damage output. Playing with multiple players or friends, of course, will make the game a cakewalk, as you can spread out your directional callout for your army of dinosaurs, as well as use stronger weapons to face off against boss battles. Solo play is possible, though harder on servers. If you want to play solo, there are mods to make it more bearable for solo play, or you can manually change the server settings, like I did, for easier resource gathering and such. It is still possible, albeit frustrating at times. As I said before, getting a foothold is the hardest part of the game, as anywhere you go, you could get mauled quickly. Once you get a small army behind you, you will be more safe, though things can go wrong very quick. A wrong turn, a bad spawn, can mean the end of your whole army, even your home, as that happened to me with my raptor army. I ran into a small pack of Allosaurus, and 20 of my raptors were all decimated within seconds. In terms of the boss battles, some maps have mini-bosses that you can discover within caves, though on the island there are not many of those around. Originally, back in the day, you could summon the final boss battle of the map to the world itself to fight. Since then, it has been changed so that you and your army are teleported to an arena that is themed around the boss instead. The main boss of the island is the Broodmother Spider. However, there are accesses to other bosses, and other maps will allow for multiple boss battle types as well. In this new upgraded version of the game, there is also a brand new dungeon with new challenges. I won't say much to not spoil it, but it is a tech tier cave with a Gargantodontosaurus, as well as a Giganotosaurus spawning area right outside of the door. So, if that wasn't warning enough to the difficulty of what lies within, I don't know what is. All in all, while I do nerd rage at the frustrating parts, I would say the PvE is fun overall, and I will rate it a 4 out of 5. While you won't see gameplay in this section of me PvPing, I have been there, done that for many years. I can tell you how it is. Now, I didn't play on the newer version of the game with PvP because there is a lot of drama with the server hosting as well as a lot of bugs and glitches, so I stuck to the single player for my playthrough of this review. Though from what I've heard, not much has changed. Official servers are still going to be ran by alpha tribes who will kill and harass anyone new who tries to join. I've even heard horror stories of tribes getting players banned because players refuse to let these alpha tribes abuse them, going as far as to follow players to other servers to keep killing them no matter where they go over and over again. And then when the player logged out to avoid the torment, the tribe had the player banned. Don't know how that exactly happens, but I'm not lying, as scandals like this happen all the time on ARK, including a whole tribe of players being banned for raiding an alpha tribe who had developers in the tribe itself. Though going away from official servers, there are issues right now with trying to host your own personal server, again, which leads a bit back to the drama behind the scenes. Though for the sake of rating, let's pretend there are no issues and no server hosts, at least in terms of drama. From my experience on Survival Evolved, on official servers you can have a much better time of PvP there. The players are the ones who make the rules, and depending on the admins will enforce rules, so it can lead to a bit more balanced experience with no alpha tribes. There will be raiding rules and so on. I would recommend this option before official servers any day. Also, unofficial servers have mods too, which is always neat. Though I am gonna have to give this section a low rating of a 2 out of 5 due to all of the issues that plague online servers right now, as well as the terrible PvP community. The story delivery has improved a ton over the years, though it's still not the best of any game. It at least has a story to tell now, when before, the game had just come out, all we had were dino dossiers and some recipes that you got from taming creatures and treasure chests. Now we have those, as well as character notes, new recipes, and various writings that we can find scattered in ruins throughout the map, some of which are fully voice acted as well, that will read it out to the player with the voice of the character who wrote the piece, which I like a lot. It adds a lot to the game and allows us to learn about the world lore, the history of the ARKs, as well as the story itself that happened just before we got there. Even when you start your character, you are greeted by an interesting cutscene that is vague and doesn't quite tell you much, but it gets you wondering what is happening. I would say the only issue is that you might not find all of the notes, or you could find them out of order, which leads to a lot of missing details and out of context stories. I would say that is a very crucial issue if Wildcard wants to tell its story. Therefore, I'm going to rate this section a 3 out of 5 for the story delivery.
No one knows where, or indeed what, this place is. Some think it to be the afterlife, and others purgatory.
How can I fear death, Helena? I have already died. As have we all.
Now the story itself, when you tab out of the game and you go to a YouTube video on the story of ARK, it is actually quite decent, really good in fact. At first, I didn't care much about the story of this game, but then I got curious enough to know and go and do what I just suggested, which is watch a video. I enjoyed what I heard from the various main characters like Rockwell and Helena to other side characters and their adventures on the island arc, which then moves into other arcs like Scorched Earth as well as Genesis. We are not directly involved with their story until I think around Genesis, though we follow their trail. We learn more and more about the arcs, which is neat, and I would say there are a lot of similarities between this story and Horizon Zero Dawn. I am also excited to see the new animated series whenever it does release. Season 1 is supposed to be around the events of these characters on the island arc. If you guys would like me to review that show, let me know in the comments below. Even though it is a streaming show, it is relevant to a game of which the genre I do review, so I think that would make sense, yeah? Anyway, without spoilers, I'm gonna rate this a 5 out of 5. I recommend checking it out on a lore video if you are interested. The endgame of ARK is one of the best of any game. There is so much to do in the game, which is also expanded upon with mods, roleplay, and PvP. While I not only played Ascended for 40 hours, in Evolved I spent more than 2,000 hours played, just roleplaying, testing out mods on the Ragnarok map, which is of course the best map ever made, no debate. I would say the only downside mechanically with the endgame is the tech stuff. I personally don't play past the Iron Age, with the smithy, and I rarely make things from the fabricator. It's both for challenge as well as aesthetics, though myself as well as others in the community do not like the sci-fi tech tier, either from the aesthetic looks or from the fact that the items are completely unbalanced and broken. Many negative reviews have said the same thing of the tech tier ruining the game, which leads to some servers blocking the learning of them. With that being said, I would say the endgame is a 4.5 out of 5, with that small drop just being from the nitpick of the tech tier, but it can be negated through personal choice or blocking of recipes. Without debate, the modding of this game is 5 out of 5. The mods are the best part of this game. There are so many that are good, from new maps to new tools, weapons, hell, new dinosaurs and even animals from other games. I love to add as many creatures as I can. I love the Monster Hunter creatures from ARK Editions. I also love the Pura mod, and I hope that is eventually added to Ascended as well, for the magic system as well as the over 100 creatures. You also have mods allowing Viking homes and ships. The best part is that a lot of the time, the really good mods are sponsored and integrated into the game itself. That is how Ragnarok became an official map. Same with the Center and Crystal Isles. So yeah, 5 out of 5 rating for the mods. The player count is very active on both versions of the game, though split between the two. You can find people to play on both servers. There is no issue for that, as the game is still very popular. As for updates, I would say ARK is pretty good about updates. They release new creatures semi-regularly, and they release new maps maybe once a year or so. Now with Ascended, they seem to want to launch the updated maps with new creatures every few months, so it will be a while before we get to see Scorched Earth or Aberration, let alone Ragnarok or Fjordur on Ascended. I will not review Scorched Earth when it comes out on Ascended, as I just reviewed it for Evolved, and I doubt it will change much mechanically beyond a few new creatures. So that review will remain, though I do plan on reviewing other maps as they release, such as Aberration, so subscribe to this channel for more of that. Either way, decent roadmap and semi-regular updates. I will rate this a 4 out of 5. I only really dropped it a point because Wildcard is famous for delays. Alright, here is the issue and the trouble child. While I warned you before, I'm sure you would have noticed the terrible frame rate in my footage for this video. Typically, more or less, it's an OBS issue when this happens. This time, that is not the case. I have a 3050 graphics card and an i7 processor, and from there, I turned down all of the graphics of this game, as well as reduced the cloud pixel count, fixed many settings as I can that I learned from in forum posts or videos to help with frame rate. Even after all of that, I only got between 20 and 30 frames. Now, I grew up in the era of SNES, N64, and GameCube, so 30 frames doesn't really bother me too much personally, though 20 and lower, I was really feeling it, and it dropped that low often. I did notice that dinosaurs had a bit better pathing this time around, so they were not getting stuck as often, though they still occasionally did get stuck, just not as much as the older version of the game. From there, I didn't really have many bugs, just mostly frame drops, and the biggest issue I have yet to talk about, but it almost made me quit: the crashes. I crashed regularly and lost a lot of progression from the rollbacks. The majority of my crashes I was able to pinpoint to a certain reason, though still there were many where I don't know what caused them. The primary crash was from the inventory menu. That's right, the fucking inventory menu. Around 80% of the time I opened up my bag, I would crash. So I would have to save my progress before I opened my bags, just in case I did crash. I also crashed from gathering crystals to just walking around and so on. It happened so many times, I raged and almost quit. Now, I did find some settings that I could flip off in order to make it not happen as often, which it did work most of the time. I was able to go 2 to maybe 3 hours at a time now without crashing, which was better, but still crashed once or twice per playday. Wildcard is also well known to not fix issues quickly, and even though it's been months from the review since I played at launch, there are still a lot of issues that I am facing. As such, this section is going to get a 1 out of 5. My overall score for ARK Survival Ascended is going to be a 3.7 out of 5. There is an odd mix of very good changes that made the game even better than the older version, but there are still so many issues that have been added that really balances out the score to an average. It's one of those polarizing games that, if you can get around the dev and PvP drama, as well as the many bugs and crashes, then you can easily spend many hours and have a lot of fun with this game. But if you cannot get over those humps, this would be one of the worst games ever. I would say wait for more updates, pray to Gabe of Steam that they're going to fix these crashing and server issues, and give it a try. I do really love this game, and I just wish the issues were not as prevalent as they are now. Anyway, that's it for me on this review. If you enjoyed this, make sure you like the video, sub if you want to see more, let me know in the comments below if you want me to review the TV show when it eventually comes out, and I'll see you guys next time. And that is the end of this video. If you liked my review, please subscribe to this channel as I will be making more in-depth reviews of open-world sandbox survival RPG games, including those that no one ever talks about from the deepest, darkest depths of Steam. Some games that even look like the muck at the bottom of my pond. If you have any suggestions for what game to do next, please comment below and like this video. Florida Gator Man out.